Alright, hello everyone. My name is Disc, and in this video we're looking at a level 26 Grimrail Depot. For the affixes, we are Tyrannical, Raging, and Volcanic, still Shrouded. And this will be my last video of the expansion. I wanted to open with talking about talents a little bit. So if you don't really care and you just want to see the video itself, I will timestamp that and you can just skip forward. But for this key, this is the build that I ran. I want to talk about just a few points and then we'll skip over to the actual video. So let's just start at the top. Really important is this protective light. As a sequence, you'll see a lot of times you'll flash shield yourself and then cap your health pool with a shield, and that reduces a lot of damage. So we'll definitely want to use that on boss 1. Also, I've switched over to Rhapsody, which I think is just kind of always the play. Takes a while to build up the 20 stack, but it's really nice to drop it in a large AoE, especially on Schism. And then all of this is, I think, pretty much standard. And since this run, I've actually started playing it a little bit differently. I take 1 point out of Mind Games and put it into Crystalline Reflection. I just think this is quite a powerful spell, especially if you can have it engage with Schism. But for this run, I did go 3 down in Mind Games. Yeah, I kind of like the Crystalline Reflection. And if I were trying to really simp for my team, we would go over here to this side. Powered Life is a really great spell, and you can even build your UI to help you see it better. Yeah, I really like the Crystalline Reflection. I prefer 2 here, and then that's my preferred spec right now. It's just really offensive. And then on the Discipline side, I think this is also pretty standard. I've not really looked at anyone else's, but you want to go down to the Twilight Equilibrium, and I'm taking Train of Thought over Light's Wrath. I just think having penance a little bit more frequently is invaluable, whereas something like adding a whole nother spell to my book makes me feel even more clunky right now while we still have Boon. I am going to miss Boon when we go into Dragonflight, but I'm confident we will still have fun gameplay. But Boon as a Discipline Priest was just so, like such a unique experience. It was so much fun. So I will miss that, but I am looking forward to the changes. I'm really excited to start using KUI nameplates a little bit better in the future. Like right here, I have these Overseers highlighted in white. These are all the guys that cleave. So that's an example of how you might want to track positioning of your enemies so that you're not in their cleave range. And I do that on a couple bosses, I do that on a couple packs. But KUI nameplates is just so useful. This target helper is just amazing for Mythic Plus, especially as a Disc Priest with Schism. We do want to be putting our Schisms on strong targets or big threats. We don't want to just throw those out willy-nilly. And with Target Helper, it can help you track your cleaves, your whirlwinds, where you want your Schisms to go. It's just really useful. But anyway, I'm going to clip over to the video now and let's get going. Alright, so here we are, Grimrail Depot 25. We are Tyrannical. First pack, not a problem, but it is a cooldown dump. Always open with dots. PI's out. Shadow Fiend, Schism, Star, Mind Games, Boon. Blast, Nova Nova Blast. And I always like to put my Schism on an Infiltrator if they're in the group. I just think they're always a good target to get down. That little rejuvenation they offer, the health and the mana, can really help stabilize a pull if things are getting spicy. So, yeah, Schism those guys. They're about to be gone. So the way they've changed the 40% health pools and 40% extra damage kind of just changes your play style as a healer. You really gotta love your flash heal. Keep renews up if you can. Targeting the Infiltrator again. Schism, Mind Games, Star. Dropped Rhapsody, and just Holy Nova. I like to spread my dot with Penance whenever Penance is up. And we're just letting some cooldowns reset here. So without Mindseer, Holy Nova is going to be our go-to. And I really like that. Holy Nova has always been one of my favorite spells. And now kind of being forced to use it, I like it, especially with Rhapsody. And if anyone's wondering, my keybind for Holy Nova is my mouse wheel click. No modifiers, just mouse wheel click. I have tried a couple different keybinds over the years, and that's where I've landed right now. I just think that's the best. Also, if you're wondering, my speed boost is bound to mouse button 4, no modifiers. Renew is shift left click, flash heal shift right click. That's kind of how I've structured my my keybinds. So I have a weak heart for the bat. I like to see his hypnosis cast front and center. Always nice to throw a fear if you have it. I think that's what I did there. And this, being a Tyrannical boss, is going to be kind of hard. I am banking all my cooldowns here. And for those blood siphons, all we really need is a Radiance and a Schism anyway. Refresh dot, go into a Radiance, Schism, and just pump. And right there it looks like I held Mind Games. I delayed it. I feel like if you cast those big spells early, a larger percent goes to overhealing. So if you cast it late, you potentially waste less of that cooldown. And no one was in danger. So going into this next boss, it's taken me all season to kind of figure out the cadence, but I think I finally figured it out. It is hella fun, and the damage profile I think pairs amazingly well with Discipline. The only thing is you have to play your cooldowns exactly perfectly to get through this. Offensive, defensive, all of it. So for the first round, we open with a Rapture. We want Raptures to hit the group before and after the slam. Slams are 15 seconds apart. Shields are 15-second buffs. That one cooldown can cover 2. Also, I'm spec'd into Protective Light. When you flash heal yourself, it reduces damage by 10%. And for this first Missile Barrage phase is definitely our boon. And just to make sure I live with that boon, I had a wall too and a sack from the tank, I believe. And right there I had a Protective Light from Flash Heal, and I think my shield was late. So you always want to shield yourself right before a slam. There goes my Shadow Fiend. And for this one, Paints Up is a personal defensive. You never want to be caught without something. And for this, I believe I missed, yeah, it looks like I missed my Schism for the Shadow Fiend. But this was a double cooldown for the Barrage with a barrier. And in this intermission, you just want to top everyone. No cooldowns. Protective Light and a shield. Probably the only thing that saved me from a one-shot there. I had nothing else. And we're just pumping. Shield before the slam. And for this Arcane Barrage, Missile Barrage, we have a Rapture. I'm really trying to maximize on this 10 seconds with my Grid 2, only giving globals where necessary because I am low on mana. And it's always a good idea to wall in a barrage. So that was my second wall, and it covered me for the slam. pumping as much DPS as I can. Shield and protective light myself. Yeah, spiking at half health is scary enough. You never want to spike too low, so protective light and a shield is a really nice combo if you're expecting incoming damage on yourself. And we have no mana. Thankfully we have boon. Thankfully we had another sack on myself. And here we have our boon. Blast, Radiance Blast for coverage. And oh yeah, so the only thing I could have done better there was delay my boon by 1 second. It missed covering that slam. It would have been a lot better if it covered. But second PI's out just to polish this guy off. And that is how you do boss 1. And boss 1 is down. That took all my mana, so that's kind of sad. If I had spec'd a little bit differently, I would have better mana storage, but I don't. But boss 1 down, that was a really good example. Sad we had a death there at the end, but it was fine. But now we're going into this deceptively hard 2-pull. But they are not fortified, so not too big of a deal. Looks like coming out of that boss we have a full stack of Rhapsody. In a case like this, flash shield is all you got. I'm noticing defensive penances, defensive penai, are just really useful with the way things are feeling these days. I use it defensively a lot. But since we are basically 4-manning this, we are turning this into a cooldown dump. So our Shadow Fiend is out. Toss a barrier 2. Always nice to grip an ally across open air like that, so you're welcome, Mr. Warlock. Yeah, so with Renew, it's not really a heal. It's like, if you have a global despair, it's nice to throw it on someone. So typically I will flash heal, flash heal, flash heal, flash heal, to get them full and like cap it with a Renew. It's nice to keep those rolling on the tank, but you don't want to get caught using a global when they actually needed a heal. It looks like I only had 1 point of Crystalline Reflection, which is sad. I prefer 2. This must have been earlier in the week when I hadn't switched to 2 points of it yet. And this next trash pull. Whenever there's an infiltrator, again, I don't mind focusing him. Open with all my dots. There's our PI. Schism boon. Schism Mind Games boon. Blast. Nova Blast. Dodging that frontal. Double death on the back side. Quick dispel on that sleep. And has no dispel for that sleep. But we're moving forward. The only thing about these hallways is I feel like the camera angle is the boss. And there's this frontal that always gets me. I should work to see it better, but like, I don't know, I always just die in this hallway. Yeah, and that, I watched this a couple times over before I made this video, and I don't know what that was. It looked like the enemies were in the warrior's mechanic, but then I was like charged also. I didn't pull up what killed me either, so I don't know. But that pulls down, really no loss, but a 5-second death on the counter. And going into next trash pull, open with a fade, and I use that window just to start getting my dots out. I have no defensives right now for the tank, so flash heals are necessary. Getting the rest of my dots out. I believe I'm prepping for boon here. Schism, Mind Games, boom. Blast, Nova, Nova, Blast. For these packs, I really just don't want to play around, so it looked like I worked in a Blast Radiance Blast, just to make sure I did my job. Yeah, like that. So health can spike in these pulls a lot. I honestly think a lot of the damage is hard to dodge in these tunnels. So yeah, Blast, Radiance Blast. And for this guy, the Hulk is the biggest threat, but I think I Focus Cleave the Infiltrator. PI's out. Star. Shadow Fiend. Schism. Mind Games. Drop my Rhapsody there on the Schism. Feels good. And yeah. Pull is still active, and we have that nice heal from the Infiltrator. That is what I'm going for when I focus them down. That heal is just so nice. Alright, the Grenadier, is that how you say it? He's the biggest threat here, so I have him highlighted. Opening with all my dots. I'm just ramping and prepping for Boon. I Barrier because I have it. Schism Boon. Blast Radiance Blast for coverage. And Divine Star on the backside of Boon, always. Getting more Holy Novas in. Dodge that. Defensive Penance, love it. Full health, full mana. Boss. So in this opening window, if you have cooldowns, I think it's safe to dump them here. This is a long fight. You're going to get multiple rounds of cooldowns, and this is just a time sink. So dump cooldowns, it's fine. I'm also keeping a shield on myself. It's just one of those cases where if I am atoned and shielded, I will not spike as much. Mana regen. And here's Boon. Schism Boon. Blast. Nova Nova Blast. Working a Radiance there just to top everyone off before the eruption. And I'm just pumping as much as possible. Radiance. Schism Mind Games. Pump. Lost some of that Schism. But going into this boss, I'm glancing at my spells. We have PI. I forget if I use it early. But I kind of think this fight is a tank fight and a DPS fight. I'm just here to help facilitate. So keeping heals on people, keeping the tank alive. Rolling star when they're all grouped. You don't want to use too much mana here. I feel like that's the only thing. So I try and conserve mana, roll Solace on cooldown. And it's always a good idea to keep a dot on that guy back there. There was my Rhapsody drop. Star. Solace. And I'm really anxious or eager, whatever, to have Omni CD back. I know a lot's changed, and it's kind of a daunting task to relearn everything. But once I get Omni CD, I can do that in about a day. Piece everything back together, see where my offensives are, and really get back to maximizing PI. I've kind of been flying blind for, what is it, a couple weeks now. And I don't like it. So yeah, PIs are not that great right now. But I have proof of where I've had good PIs. And anyone who watches my videos knows in the past my PIs are sick. Okay, boss is down. We have all cooldowns. Cooldown, dump. Paints up just to help the transition. Star. PI's out. Shadow Fiend's out. Schism. Mind Games. Boom. And with PI, we have Blast Nova, Blast Nova, Blast Nova. Worked in a Radiance there just to not play around. And that was a good boom. Almost fell off there. And boss down. No deaths, no problem. Moving on. So I think I did die up here. But spoiler alert, we timed the key. Plenty of time to spare. So let's see how I die. Maybe we can talk about it still. So this is a single pull. The only problem is there's not much room. So what you can do as a priest is just Mind Soothe all those hoes. And you can stand over here and kind of try and bait the Thunder Zone. I don't think in this attempt I ever successfully baited it away from the team. But all you gotta do is make sure you cast that Mind Soothe every 20 seconds. Just keeping an eye on their nameplates back there. Banking cooldowns. Next pull is always standard big. So banking cooldowns. Full stack of Rhapsody. Let's see what I do here. Big pull, no hero, he says. Fade on the rip. Barrier. Open with Star. And then using that 10 seconds of barrier just to get dots out. Finding my way back to the Infiltrator. Prepping for Boon. Schism, Mind Games, Boon. Oh, okay. So that was called... I forget what it's called. My game's not open right now. But I have built that into my UI since. I can see it so much better. And I'd like to report that I've done a Grimrail since this. There it is, Reckless slash. I've done a Grimrail since this where I saw it coming and lived. So I improved. But thankfully, there goes the Warrior. Do the same thing. So the Captain here, I have my bigwigs alerting me. I do have it minimized kind of just to the Reckless Sash. But that audible alone didn't help me. I think I've changed his nameplate color, and I think I've added his cast bar to my screen. Things like cleaves and whirlwinds, really important to be really aware of those. Yeah, there's my bigwig profile if you want to see. Pretty much everything's turned off. So here we go, last boss. I don't think it was perfect, but we have over 10 minutes. Mind Soothe because I can. Refresh Fort. And here we go. The cadence of this is pretty fast. There's consistent damage always. So you kind of just want to roll your cooldowns before every breath. So that's all I'm tracking. For this one was a Radiance. Schism, Mind Games, Boon. And ouch. So thankfully we have battle reses. Not my best play. The best thing you can do with that spear, I think, is watch the actual tune. Watch for the direction of that spear. It's honestly a hard one to see, and the way that angle was there, I just really couldn't see it. But anyway, for this one, I open with Renews, Shadow Fiend on the front side of the damage, Schism on the back side of the damage, plus the Renews. For this one, I go into my mitigation round. We're Rapturing. I want 5 shields right before the damage, and refresh 2 after the damage. And for this next one, what do I got? Nothing but mana. So let's see, what do I do? I Rapture, no Overheal. Schism, Mind Games, Pump. And it looks like I have Barrier. Yeah, so I give a Barrier for us over here. It affects more people. Catch that Atonement I missed. And Pump. And for this next one, we are blank again. Trying to bait outwards. I Flash Heal and Shield myself. And that was plenty to not spike. Schism, Mind Games, Boon. Radiant Blast. Yeah, that was a messy boon, but I had to work that Radiance in. Had to recover. For this one, I walled. Pre-wall. And I'm running low on mana, which is the only problem here I'm noticing. But a quick Pain Sup just because we have it. PI because we desperately need the help. And I'm getting that dot, so ouch. Looks like I go into a quick Rapture, knowing that it's going to carry over to the Breath. But I don't have the mana. Okay, looks like 3 of us got shields. That's good. And that is called the Disc Panic. It looks like up where tank is, there was a gap, but I just didn't see that, and I got caught in the thick of it. And we're down again. But defensive penance for the win, health potion for the win. Nice recovery there with a second battle res. I had no mana, but I had enough to get a renew and an atonement on the tank. And we pulled through. It's too bad the IO thing doesn't splash for this dungeon properly, but that was an IO gain for me. Really nice way to finish off the expansion. And that dungeon has grown on me, especially the boss fights. Well, not the middle boss, but the other ones. Still not my favorite dungeon, but this was the only one missing from my channel. So, there you go. I'm looking forward to making some videos in Dragonflight. I think I've finally reached my UI potential, and I have so many great ideas for how to maximize my play, and I still need to buy the expansions. That's funny. But anyway, until next time, guys, Disc out. I will see you in Dragonflight.